You're listening to Well and Worthy Life, the podcast that helps midlife women feel better, look better, and live better. I'm your host, Deanna, menopause wellness coach turned to lifestyle creator, and I'm here to give you all of my tips, tools, and real talk you need to thrive in this second half of life. Welcome back to the Well and Worthy Life podcast. I'm so excited to have my friend and Dr. Elizabeth Adams on here with me today to talk about neurotoxins. Okay, just wait. That's a scary word, but we're going to get into that. But talk about that after my facelift, because that's one of the questions I get a lot. After my facelift, do you still have to do, as some people call it, Botox, some people call it Daxify? There's so many different names. And so Elizabeth, let's start off describing or defining what we're talking about today.
So specifically with neurotoxins. So neurotoxins, it's a very scary word. It also goes by toxin. It also goes by Botox. They are all synonymous, but the neurotoxins are basically botulism toxin products. There are 6 on the market right now. Botox is the first on the market. It is not the only one, despite people saying Botox when they mean any of them. But there's Botox was the first on the market, and then came Dysport, and then MERS was Xeomin, and then Daxi, Jeuveau, and there's a new one on the market, Lativo, as well. So those are the 6 that are on the market right now in the United States. So Botox is one of them. You can call them toxins, neurotoxins, Botox.
Yeah, and you know what's so funny? I mean, toxin is really not a good, healthy word anyway.
No, it's not, right?
we need to come up with some other name for this.
Wrinkle relaxer.
I like that a lot. And which brings me to your new place that you've just opened up, which you have named appropriately still. And I love that. So let's talk about that for a minute before we go into what I do. Tell us a little bit about your new concept that you've just opened.
So Still is a new business in Hoover that is in Brock's Gap. It is 2 weeks old, so we are brand spanking new. It's a new concept, not in what we do. So it's not like the neurotoxins where we do all of the neurotoxins, but it's how it's delivered. So typically in the industry today, to me, it's very confusing, the process. You go into somewhere, physician's office, medical spa, you kind of sort of discuss what your intentions are, your goals are, and then there's the unit discussion that leads into complicated math, and then there is unit conversions, and then there's product discussions, and it turns into a very overwhelming experience in general, and people ultimately walk out pretty much unsure of why they paid what they paid and what results am I about to get? No clue, right? So the consistency in the industry. So the way Still was developed was that it was intended to address kind of all those pain points. It was intended to address the pricing. So we have transparent pricing. It is flat fee per area, unlimited units. So you know that going into Still, you're not going to pay anything else. There's no upcharge. It is what it is. And so taking that out of the equation, then we kind of work backwards. We discuss, there's always a consultation. We discuss what outcomes are you looking for? Are you looking for more stillness? Are you looking more for a natural look? And depending on what your goals are, then we work backwards for the products, which is a lot different than your typical experience because it is just meant to be simplified. The entire experience is supposed to be simplified. It's like, just tell me what you want and we can make it happen.
Yeah. And I love that. And it's a beautiful spot. But I love that because so many times I go in and I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, like price wise. And I've been having this done since I was in my 30s. So I'd be like hiding it from my husband, like, especially if I went in and I had a whole lot of units. And then I was like, oh my God, it's like sticker shock when you got done. And so I love this, ahead of time before you have it done, what it's going to be. And another great thing is that you have drop-ins, like you can just show up.
Yes,
that's nice too.
Walk-ins are welcome. Appointments are available, but definitely definitely walk-ins are welcome. One of the things I personally love about Still is being able to discuss the personalities of each of the toxins. So all toxins are not equal. They're all wonderful. They are all in different ways, really amazing products, but they're not all equal. And I think that today, or one of the confusions in this industry is that everything is compared to Botox. Well, Botox gives you a look, a particular field, and it is beautiful. But there are other options out there as well. And being in a space that is not aligned with a particular company, not aligned with a particular product, it really gives the opportunity to really discuss, okay, what are you wanting? Like, what is your outcome? And then again, we work backwards. So that's
let's
another
talk
really neat thing.
about that. So tell us the differences in all the different toxins.
And all the toxins. So Botox was the first on the market. It is our gold standard for a lot of reasons. That's what's compared in all our studies, that we compare all the products that have come. So we use it as our gold standard. It's a great product, but it's a tighter product. It gives you a tighter feel. It gives you just a more an intense process is the best way I can explain it. I mean, they are all FDA approved for the same amount of time, so 3 to 4 months, because again, we compared everything to Botox when it came on the market. So Botox definitely, it doesn't last longer than any of the others, but it just gives a little bit more intense feeling. And then after that came Dysport. So Dysport is a little bit more relaxed. It feels a little bit looser. It doesn't necessarily look looser, it just feels looser. Sometimes people describe Botox as feeling almost and this is a good thing, but but it's like you're almost stuck in your face, and that's not a bad thing if you want that look. But Dysport really alleviated that, and it's just a softer, smoother product. It diffuses really pretty, so it just kind of like paints, if you will. So that's what Dysport came in, and then after that came Xeomin. Xeomin is a beautiful product in that what it did different to the market was all the products have stabilizers and they all have side protein chains that are side proteins. And so Xeomin, what it did, it minimized not only the additives, but also the size of the protein side chain. And by doing that, your body does not recognize the product as much. It doesn't make the antibodies that it makes with some of the other neurotoxins. It's a more natural product, if you will. I mean, it's still a neurotoxin, but it's a more natural product. And it also, again, it feels looser. It's a softer product, and the end result is softer as well. There's softening of your wrinkles. There's not a still. It's not frozen. It's not still. There's a natural look to it. So that's the Xeomin. And then after that came Jeuveau, which is again another version of just a softer product. Jeuveau really shines, in my opinion, in more of your younger population, more like your 20s and 30s, just now getting into the toxin world. Again, it just is a softer, more manageable product. Then after that came Daxi. Daxi revolutionized some of the neurotoxins in that instead of having that protein side chain, they subbed it with a peptide. And that peptide, what it does, again, it's a stabilizer molecule. And what it does is that it can act to induce longevity. So Daxi can last longer than some of the other neurotoxins. So all of them will last 3 to 4 months, all of them the exact same from that. But Daxi, if dosed appropriately, can last a little bit longer, which is nice. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And then also there is this skin glow that's associated. It's called the Daxi glow because of that peptide that's getting integrated into your skin. So they all have really pretty things about them. And again, it's what are you looking for? Are you maybe getting pregnant or trying to get pregnant? Well, maybe you might want to try Daxi because it might last through your pregnancy, right? If you get that longevity effect. If you have dull skin, maybe Daxi is a good choice. But if you're more worried about longevity, meaning biohacking, Xeomin might be more of your choice. So all of them are chosen for different reasons. And by being in Still, where I have access to all of them and I'm not necessarily aligned with a particular company, it allows me to truly, what are your desires? What are your outcomes? And work back from there.
Oh, I love that. I think that is so important. And I have gone in before and somebody's like, you want Botox or Dysport? Is that how
Dysport.
you say it? Dysport,
Mhm.
whatever. But that's really the only two I've ever been offered. And so anyway, I think that that's very interesting. Some people, or does this happen to some people? I should ask, because I've heard this happens, that some people, they start doing Botox and then after a while it doesn't work as well.
So that's going back to the antibody response. And
Okay.
so Botox, again, it was the first on the market,
Hmm.
first that we knew of. It has got the largest side chain of
Hmm.
protein, as well as the additives. So your body recognizes that. It doesn't recognize the neurotoxin, I mean, to a degree, but it's really those additives that it's starting to look
Hmm.
after. And so you do over time make antibody response. So there is or some people do, not everybody. Again, this is the art of
Yes.
medicine,
Yeah.
right? Like it's
Hmm.
not a linear
Yeah.
line. So there is some people make these antibodies that reduce the effectiveness of the product. Again, the still model is based on Xeomin, and it is based on Xeomin primarily because of this reason, that if you're going to continue to do it over and over again,
Hmm.
then if you have a less antibody response, you're going to have a longer lifespan of
Right.
your neurotoxin
Mhm.
career.
Yeah. And how often do you recommend people doing neurotoxins? Again, does it go back to which one and how
Well, yes, if you're
individuals?
doing Daxi, you might not
Hmm.
have to do it as long, but it truly, assuming all things equal, that 3 to 4 month cycle,
Hmm.
it depends on where you are in your own life cycle. If you're 20 years old, unless you're just going for a look, you don't necessarily a prevention type treatments rotation. It doesn't require a 3 month cycle.
Hmm.
It's for a 6 month or longer. If
Hmm.
you're 50 years old and you have a real stagnant wrinkle right there, well, you're going to need to come in every single time you start seeing that wrinkle again,
Hmm.
because if it can form, it's creating that etched line. So at that point, I would say probably about every 3 months. As soon as you start moving, come back in.
Yeah.
So,
I always know when I need it because my husband always says something about my how I furrow my brow. I'm like,
mean mom face.
that's right, exactly. Okay, so let's go back and talk about neurotoxins after a facelift.
Mm.
Um, that was one of the questions I got a lot about afterwards. And honestly, I wasn't really thinking after my facelift I would need neurotoxins. I just thought, but we still do because we still move our face,
Exactly.
right?
It's that dynamic movement. You're not
Hmm.
with a facelift, you're not addressing the dynamic movement
Hmm.
that neurotoxins address. So,
Hmm.
a facelift, the intention of a facelift is to address saggy skin and
Hmm.
laxity, right? It's just the
Right.
laxity and reposition some of the tissues as well.
Right.
So fat pad deflation and
Hmm.
repositioning the skin. So those are the main primary goals of a facelift. What it doesn't do is it does not volumize, which are fillers. That's a
Hmm.
filler discussion, but
Hmm.
it does not
Yes.
volumize unless you add in fat. It does not volumize. It does not address skin quality or texture unless you, again, are doing lasers like an additional to the
Hmm.
facelift. And it also doesn't take away your muscle movement, right? That dynamic
Hmm.
movement. And that dynamic movement is where the neurotoxins step in,
Right.
because you can create wrinkles even post facelift.
Right. And I've always been a lot of movement in my face because I'm very expressive. My ex-husband said to me when I was in my early to mid 30s, and I'm 60, so this was years and years ago. He's like, have you ever thought about getting Botox? Because at that time there probably was just Botox. I was like,
You're like,
what? What
"Oh,
is
thanks, hon.
Botox?
I appreciate that, honey."
Well, he was very perfectionistic. And so I started getting it then because once somebody points it out to you, you're like, oh gosh. And now it's like I know the minute I need it.
Yeah.
So I've been doing that since mid 30s.
And a lot of people actually talk about that, is that the headaches. So
Mm.
Botox is the most therapeutic as well as medical indications, one of which is migraines. Even if
Mhm.
you do the aesthetic injections, a lot of migraines or headaches are
Mhm.
right here, those tension type headaches, and that people will start having those tension type headaches that, again,
Mm.
aesthetic injections also address. So you don't have to do the true migraine injections
Yeah,
because
that's nice.
yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness never suffered from migraines. But so, okay, so let's talk about filler then. I mean, I haven't had filler since my facelift,
And
but
so I want to ask a question before we get into filler. What's your favorite neurotoxin?
oh, Daxify.
You
Just
like it?
because I really do like it. I don't know if I've ever had Xeomin. Maybe we try Xeomin next time.
Yes.
But I know I've had Botox and Dysport, but I do love the Daxi Glow. And I
Mm,
did think it did last longer on me this
yeah.
time. So that's really nice because, if I can prolong those appointments, I think it's
Exactly.
just nice.
Hmm.
Um, you save a little bit of money maybe, and more than anything, it's time.
I was
It's
just about to
time.
say more than time. It's
Yeah, I mean, just having to go somewhere and get something else done, it's bad enough. I have to get my hair done every 4 weeks, my
I,
nails done.
I need
I
my
mean,
hair done
my
right now
gosh,
too.
I'm like, I'm
Can't
a
have
high
another
maintenance
appointment.
girl. Come on.
Uh,
So I haven't had to have filler since I did do filler before my
mhm.
facelift, but I haven't had any filler. But what might be something that somebody after a facelift would still need filler for?
So again, the facelift, what it does is it repositions tissues,
Hmm.
but it doesn't always address fat pad deflation.
Hmm.
So, and also bone reabsorption. That's another thing that filler is used for, is essentially mimicking bone. During facelift, sometimes they will use fat transfers,
Hmm.
and maybe some plastic surgeons use filler during the op. I don't know,
Hmm.
but it doesn't address that aging process of the fat pad deflation. So once you reapproximate those tissues, reapproximate those muscles,
Hmm.
there's still 3 layers of aging that a facelift does not address. 2 of those are fat pads. And
Hmm.
so that is where filler goes in. Each
Hmm.
person's different as far as needs and genetically how you're aging, how your fat pads are aging. But I would say in general, the big post facelift needs for like filler would be either temples, because our temples
Mm.
actually hollow,
Yes, I've seen
right?
that a
Like that
lot.
doesn't even, that's not touched
Yeah.
at all by
Hmm.
the facelifts. And then it's usually mid face and sometimes right here, but it's
Hmm.
it's a mid face augmentation because
Hmm.
again, you can stretch, but if you don't have that fat pad, you
Hmm.
don't have that volume that is it's a younger face
It
to have.
is. It's a youthful look. I mean, I have had filler put in my cheeks before years ago, and it was just amazing. It's funny because I look back at younger pictures of me and my face was fuller, but and that's a youthful look. As we
Mhm.
get older, unfortunately, we don't lose
Yeah.
the weight in our tummies. We lose it in our face.
Leaves it in our cheeks. Like, how's this happen?
What? Can I take the fat from my tummy and put it in my cheeks? That's why
Uh,
I lose it in my butt and my cheeks. I'm like, what?
that breast, right? You're like,
Yeah,
where did it go? Where did it go?
really. Exactly. So anything else you can think of that we need to talk to everybody about neurotoxins or filler or just what are your thoughts?
So the next big thing, if you will, that facelifts specifically don't necessarily
Mm.
address through the process, a surgical process, is collagen. So again, 5 layers.
Yes.
We age on 5 layers. One, we've kind of discussed each one of them, but that top layer, that wrinkle, that skin, it it's tucked, but it doesn't change the quality of the skin.
Mm.
And so the quality of the skin is affected by collagen significantly. There are other things, other
Mhm.
qualities about skin that we look at, such as dyschromia, the reds and the browns, just the evenness of the skin tone, usually addressed with lasers. So but specifically with collagen, we lose collagen. We start losing it in our 30s.
Mhm.
It only gets better. That perimenopausal 40, it even gets
Mhm.
better. And then it's off to the races after that.
Yeah.
And so collagen stimulation enhancement is, to me, part of the aging gracefully
Mm.
portion that facelifts do not address. So there's
So
several ways.
what do you suggest?
There's several ways that you can at least enhance, maybe not necessarily replace always, because again, we're losing
Mhm.
collagen at such a significant rate that we can't always replace it 1-to-1, but at least enhance some of the loss. I am a huge believer of collagen supplementation like vital proteins, put it in your
Mhm.
coffee, drink it
Mhm.
every morning. So that you can also do microneedling, which also helps with
Mhm.
collagen. You can also do lasers. Some lasers are better, IPLs all the way up. There's all sorts of just
What do
collagen.
you like? What lasers do you like?
So I think the best bang for your buck in this entire industry is an IPL. I think IPLs
Really?
are fabulous. There's a lot of different kinds. There's BBL, which is a brand, as well as IPL is like a header, like a neurotoxin, and then there's several that fall under it.
Uh-huh.
But an IPL, BBL, because it works on the reds and browns that we just talked
Mhm.
about, as well as it is a collagen stimulator over time. Now, over time meaning once or twice a year for
Mhm.
5 to 10 years. So it takes
Mhm.
time. But again, if you're treating your reds and your browns and getting that
Mhm.
collagen stimulation in the background, I mean, that's a win for me. That, and then finally, the last and probably the most effective, but it's the most expensive as well, is Sculptra. So Sculptra is
Mm.
polylactic acid. It is not a filler. It stimulates your body to make collagen. It's best done in a series. So typically a series anywhere between 4 to 6 vials over about 3 months period kind of gets you up to where you are producing that collagen. And then once to twice a year, again, depending on what your collagen
Mhm.
looks like, you would come back in for like another vial. And it's a really pretty collagen stimulator.
And where do you put that? You inject it?
So yes, it is injected like a filler, but it is delivered with mostly water. So when you get it injected, you're gonna bruise, likely everybody bruises
Mhm.
with Sculptra. So
Mhm.
you bruise, and then all the water goes away, and you go back to your face. You're like, "What in the world did I just spend that much money on?"
Oh, how
But
funny.
over time, meaning
Mhm.
3 to 6 months, you're gonna start seeing collagen stimulation. It's really back here, back this direction, as well as like right here. The
Mhm.
areas that Sculpture is not ideal for is around the mouth and like around the eyes,
Okay.
because not necessarily side effect, but one of the things you're worried about with Sculptra is that if it gets between the muscles, because the muscles kind of move, then you
Mhm.
can have a reservoir of the product and it will create a little almost ball of collagen. And so you can feel BBs. So
Mhm.
you avoid those sphincter muscles.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So collagen stimulation would be the last that I would think of.
Okay. So what do you do? You do IPL?
The above.
Do you? Okay. You do it all.
Literally everything that I just said, I've done it.
Okay. Okay. Well, I had the CO2 laser last year when I did the
During your
facelift, which was
facelift.
pretty brutal,
Yes,
but I will say it was good. I do think about I've had a BBL, but just on my nose where
for the
I come up with some red spots.
little vascular.
But yeah, but I've never thought about having it on my whole face. So
Your
yeah.
face, your décolleté, your hands, it works really good. The CO2, again, gold standard
Mhm.
in the laser
Yeah.
industry. It is an amazing and it works. It is the only laser that truly gives rhytids, like wrinkles, a run for their money, meaning there's nothing else like a
Mhm.
CO2 that works, but there's significant downtime
Yeah.
and there's a lot of pain unless you're,
Right.
doing it
Yeah.
augmented with a facelift or
Yeah.
something. So
Okay, what about skincare? What do you suggest what do you use for skincare?
So skincare, I think that skincare is kind of can be put in buckets, if you will, just like
Mhm.
big buckets of everybody needs an SPF. Like everybody needs their
Mhm.
SPF,
Oh, yeah.
right?
I
Like
agree.
SPF, 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 right? Like
I
so
wish
everybody
somebody had told me that when I was in my 20s, you know?
everybody just needs to
Yeah.
lather in SPF.
Yeah.
So definitely SPF. I'm a huge fan of vitamin C, the retinol, retin-A, tretinoins, that whole group.
Mhm.
I think that that's appropriate for certain people after a certain age, if you will.
Mhm.
So around
Mhm.
that 40-year-old mark, kind of start maybe adding that
Right.
in if your skin tolerates it. Not everybody's skin can tolerate retin-A's.
Mhm.
And I think that is, I guess, one of the I don't want to call it myths, but like one of the busters in this industry is that you can have cellular turnover, which is what retin-A is doing. It's just
Mhm.
basically
Mhm.
recycling your skin without that is a way, the chemical disruption with the retinol. So that is a way. And if you're one of those people that just like turns red and flaky and it's
Mhm.
irritating and you're like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this? Well, don't do it. Do it a different way,
Right.
right? Do a
Yeah.
CO2. There are other ways
Right.
to do skin
And
resurfacing.
there's some products out there that are a little bit more gentle than tretinoin and retinoid.
So there is the
Yeah.
over the counter, but there's even some people that can't even do over the counter.
Really?
It's really fair
Yeah.
skin. I truly you would think with my
Mhm.
brunette hair that I would not be a fair skinned person, but like I don't tolerate retin-A. Like
Really?
I don't tolerate it very well. I flake
Mhm.
up and
Mhm.
become really irritated.
Yeah.
You can kind of work through some of that, meaning over time, if you keep using it
Mhm.
over a period of weeks to months, you can kind
Mhm.
of work your skin out to get through that. But I don't know. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, what's the point? Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
The other product that I use every day that I just really love is it's called One Skin.
I knew you were gonna say that.
I
Yep,
know,
you
I love
told
it.
me that before,
Yeah.
and I have used some of their products.
Yes, I
I
love
do
One
like it.
Skin. So I do use One Skin because it again is a peptide-based product.
Mm.
It's got a lot of great data behind it. 4 PH Women created it. So it's a really good product that helps with, again, over time hydrations
Mhm.
and wrinkles. So
Mhm.
those would be
Yeah.
the main ones I would talk about. Mm,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. I'm so happy to have you back on because you were on not too long ago. We
I
talked about
well, thank you.
hormones. So
Thank you for inviting me again.
so let's tell everybody again where they can find you on Instagram.
Instagram is Be Still Wrinkles.
Okay. And don't forget, you can do a walk-in appointment or make an appointment. It's over in Brock's Gap in Hoover, a little shopping center, and it's a beautiful spot. You're gonna
Thank
love it. I shared an Instagram reel this week. Well, when you're listening to this, it's gonna be a couple of weeks ago. But so you can check that out. We'll link that Instagram that I showed the how pretty it is and everything. But thank you again, Elizabeth. I appreciate you being
thank
here with us.
you. Thank you for inviting me on again. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. And listen, if you find this to be helpful, please share it and then be sure and tag us on Instagram so that we'll know that you saw it. And thank you so much for being here. I'm wrapping this season up. I'm going to take a little break and be back in the fall with you guys. I just need a breather from podcasting. It's been a lot. I just got a new grandson. So I'm going to go enjoy my summer with my grandchildren and I'll be back in the fall. But remember, I've got lots of episodes that you guys can listen to. Thanks again, y'all. Thanks for being here, friend. Don't forget to subscribe, share this episode, and keep choosing what makes you feel well and worthy.